kind of start from a single source.
Single creator. The Quran actually gives certain examples, and what we say the Quran is the guidance, the speech of this creator for our knowledge of the creator. It tells us what we would expect if there were more than one creators. You know what the creator has said?
I just got distracted by the camera. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. The Quran gives us reasons to think the absurdity of the concepts of having more than one creator, so that we are actually in a position, and our position are deeply rooted in our understanding with conviction that yes, that makes sense, certainly, without a shadow of doubt. So the Quran says, had there been more than one God, there would be chaos and ruin. This is one of the ayah of the Quran talks about this. If there were more than one God in our universe, the universe will be in chaos and ruin. It will all be destroyed and chaos. Let me give you an example too. Okay. If there are more than one absolute being means that you are independent being. You are not someone under the influence of or under the authority of another being. You are by yourself independent, and all the properties or attributes that you have is absolute. So if you have knowledge, you have absolute knowledge. If you have power, you have absolute power. Yeah? And so on. So suppose now, for the sake of argument, there are two creators or two gods, and one of the god now wants to reign. And there's another creator who says, no, I don't want rain here. What's going to happen?
Well, that's only a problem if these two gods disagree. I mean, they might...
Why should they compromise? Remember, independent means you're not under the influence of another. So you make your own decisions. You make your own decisions. So if one creator decides independently to have rain here, full rain, non-stop, like the monsoon rain that you see in tropical rainforest. And another creator says, no, I want very, nice tropical weather without any rain.
About agreements only makes sense if the two creators hypothetically agree on every single thing perfectly, and at that point you might as well just have one God to behave exactly the same way.
Exactly. That really shows that if you agree on one thing, then are you actually two? I mean, you're the same thing. So if there are more than one creator with differing wills, then there will be chaos and corruption. Like if one of the creators says, I want this speaker's corner to be totally annihilated from existence, destroyed. And another creator says, no, I want it to be continuing.
So what's going to happen? Room here within this framework is to have one ultimate creator who creates other creators with finite capabilities.
Yeah. Why do you need other creators is the question.
You don't need them. I'm saying that there's the possibility within the framework that we've established so far.
Yeah. So ultimately one creator makes sense, rationally, reasonably, logically. And the reason for why you need multiple agents to be acting in the creation, that's the question about why do we need it when this one creator is absolutely capable enough of doing that himself. When I say himself, I don't mean it's a male god, right?
That's an anthropomorphism to make it easier to put across. But I do think it might be necessary for there to be more than just the one absolute God, as in to have intermediates. The reason why I believe that is this one original God has certain characteristics which are really quite complex, like kindness, to be a great teacher, and patience, forgiveness. It's hard to see how these can come about spontaneously or to have always existed. The reason why I think that there might be intermediates is I would see these as a possible way that these characteristics could come into being, and therefore the motivation needed to actually create the universe. I would see the original kind of one God as being too simple to want to create a universe.
Okay, let's actually understand this concept of a creator that is absolute. Absolute creator means the creator is not something that began to exist at one point, right? If something begins to exist, then by that concept, this thing is limited in itself, had to be originated or had to come into existence. I mean, you can't come into existence while you're nothing. So you'll have to be dependent on someone else. But if you're absolute, you'll be independent. So such a being will be eternal with no beginning and everlasting with no end. If there is a being eternal with no beginning, now that particular being will have its own inherent characteristics.
Yes.
Yeah. These characteristics, we don't have to justify every single attribute with our finite reasoning, because you may not be able to grasp all of these characteristics by mere speculation of our finite mind. Because we're talking about an infinite being. An absolute being, by definition, is absolutely all-powerful, all-capable. Yep. That's what I mean by absolute.
But not all intelligent. For instance, he could have an immovable force, for instance, an unstoppable force, which could move mountains and do all of this.
Let's talk about intelligence. An absolute being with no beginning will have the knowledge not given by anyone or anything. It has to be inherent.
I believe it would be capable of generating knowledge, but not necessarily have knowledge itself.
So where would the knowledge come from?
Through perhaps a process of evolution.
We're talking about the creator.
Yes.
So what gives you the understanding that the creator evolves? What's your thought process on that? How do you arrive to such a conclusion?
So I arrive from that conclusion from the perspective that if we look at, say, single-celled organisms.
No, that's us creation.
Yes, we're talking about just before. Ignore the things that come before this, and I'll come back to that later. If we start at the level of an organism that can replicate, that can evolve, then we see over time it can get any capabilities of intelligence, of awareness through a process of creation. That's kind of what evolution is. It's about kind of creating things that are similar to ourselves but slightly different, and being able to iterate on that.
But this is where I would disagree in terms of understanding of intelligence developing through this singular cellular to multicellular organisms. Because the very fact that within the first living thing, it was already programmed what it should have, how it should do. It needs to sustain itself. It needs energy. It needs to get rid of the waste products. It's already there, built in and programmed by the creator. So we cannot then affirm or ascertain from it there's an evolutionary process going on.
So this is kind of where it comes back to why I believe the creator kick-started this process, but didn't design everything that came after. I think that what the creator has is the attributes to bring about change and continuous improvement. These don't come from the creator itself, but the creator creates things that can create better versions of themselves.
Does the creator have more knowledge than the creation?
No.
No?
The creation has more knowledge than the creator and can gain that knowledge over time. Like a student that after going to the university or such continues to learn new things, and like you wouldn't expect the scientists of 1,000 years ago to know more than the scientists are today, but the scientists that are around today are students of those scientists, and we've been able to pick up that new knowledge over time.
So you think this creation, we are a speck on this earth. The earth is like a speck on our solar system. Our solar system is like a speck on our galaxy called the Milky Way. And our Milky Way is a speck in overall galaxies, millions and zillions of galaxies that are around. The creator who created all of this, you somehow think is less knowledgeable than those speck upon a speck upon a speck upon a speck.
What I think is that the creator expects us to, over time, to develop knowledge that's superior to him. So although we might be a speck on a speck on a speck, I think that we're destined to fill the entire universe, and then once we reach that point, to be more knowledgeable than the creator. But at the moment, just now, until we kind of move forwards, I don't think we're there yet.
Do you know how much we know about this cosmos? Very little.
Yes, very little.
Very little. The creator who created all of that, does he know what he creates?
Yes.
That's what the Quran says.
That's what happens in America. That's what happens.
The ayah of the Quran, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. How does the ayah go? أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. I think this is how it goes. Should he not know the one who creates? He is the one who is all aware, the subtle. So if the creator has created all of this, you know, so much complexities within this universe. We don't know almost everything about this universe, only a little things that we have learned about our cosmos. And you're saying the creator has less knowledge than the creation?
I'm saying that we have the potential to gain more knowledge than the creator.
How can you have
The potential, not
how can
a
a finite being have qualities more than the infinite?
because they can be different qualities. The infinite qualities can be specific to some things. For instance, an infinite force, but that's just pointing in one direction. That within a finite kind of direction, you can have many more dimensions, and you can have different non-linearities which aren't possible within an infinite thing. For instance, a line that just goes in one direction and continues forever, that's infinite, where it's simple, there's not much information there, or intellect.
Can the finite become infinite?
The finite can represent an infinite number of symbols. For instance, you could have a finite amount of information and say this represents different things, and the amount of different things you could think of could be infinite.
By definition, finite is not infinite. The finite will always have the limitations of its finitude of being finite. It will never traverse to a point where it becomes infinite. If it was infinite, if it can become infinite, then why call it finite in the first place? It doesn't make sense.
There's
finite
a slight distinction there. So if we're saying there's 10 numbers between 1 to 10, there's 10 possibilities, that's finite, it's within a finite set. But you can say that this represents 10 pears or 10 apples or 10 oranges or 10 different systems which interact in this way, and there are an infinite number of ways that can be interpreted. So if you were to say, look at the pixels on a computer screen, for instance, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter that really exists. They're just patterns of pixels, but the actual content of them is in the human brain here. And that's outside of the finite computer system, and the infinite capacity of that comes from the way that it's viewed ontologically.
When you say infinite capacity from a finite brain,
capacity is a slight mischaracterization there.
We have in this country freedom of request. In America, there is also
Before we kind of delve into this infinite finite thing, can you explain why you think this is relevant?
Okay, let me tell you why. If we believe there's a creator, if we accept there's a creator who has no beginning, or has always been there, then whatever characteristics the creator has, two or three characteristics easily discernible by being here. One of having power or energy.
I agree.
Yep. Other definitely knowledge, because the creation demonstrates knowledge.
But there's a slight distinction there. We can't say whether that knowledge belongs to the same entity that the power belongs to. We can say that there could be multiple creators. One has the all that power, and one has the knowledge.
So the ultimate creator, if the ultimate creator did not have knowledge, if the ultimate creator did not have any intelligence, any wisdom, any knowledge, are you saying that without being knowledgeable, without having wisdom, intelligence, then this creator would be able to create things of this nature, like this creation?
I would say would be able to start a process of continuous improvement that led to intelligence.
No, not even improvement. How, if you have no knowledge about how to make computers, how do you start? Start with what?
So, are you familiar with, for instance, cellular automa? Are you familiar with like cellular automa, like the game of life? Basically, these are like little cells in tables and stuff. They have very simple rules like
rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start with rules. If the creator has no knowledge, is he able to put any rules in the system? No, zero rules. So you start with zero rules. So give me an example from zero rules.
Let's say there's a constant number, just one.
Okay.
The concept of one.
Sure.
And then let's say this represents the universe. And then you have the universe starting from a finite
how do you have,
of nothing.
from a non-knowledgeable entity, like the creator, if in your understanding, doing anything that shows demonstration of knowledge and wisdom? All this process that we see in terms of,
well, this is
whether
exactly
it's
what I'm kind of saying. I don't think that original creator is possible of showing any knowledge because it doesn't have any. It's only
if it doesn't have any, then how does anything that is what we see?
Because
Everything we see in this cosmos, right? It shows design.
Yep.
It shows patterns and
Totally.
complexity and harmony. All of this kick-starts from what? Zero knowledge.
Yes.
Give me an example how this is even imaginable.
We've talked about evolution as one.
Evolution starts with rules already programmed within the genetic makeup. It's a set of rules. So when there are no rules whatsoever to start with, so you have this complexity in harmony. No knowledge whatsoever. And then you get a wonderful universe like this.
This is one that's a little bit more difficult to talk about, but the spontaneous generation of life which led to that self-replication.
Life didn't spontaneously generate itself, because this is something that makes no sense. What is life that spontaneously generates from what? There's already pre-existing material. These materials have to come together in a certain specific combination.
So yes, we're talking about protein spontaneously coming about.
But that's rules. These are already rules. The forces of attraction and repulsion, the rules that say, okay, you have to come together in this combination, in this particular order, already is a program built in. So you haven't got a spontaneity from nothing, from zero.
So we kind of skipped a step there. So between. So yep, I do really need the physics there and all of that, and that's why I believe that there's a creator of this universe. Because for gravity to be here, for all of these universal constants to be around, it's far easier to have an intelligent creator. That's why I believe.
So if you now extrapolate this intelligence that you see from the constants of the universe requires an intelligent creator, that intelligence is already a given thing of an attribute of the Creator.
What I'm saying is that that created this universe could have been a little bit simpler than this universe itself. Like maybe they wouldn't need to deal with gravity.
So this intermediate Creator has some knowledge.
Yes.
Coming from where?
Coming from sources beforehand which are a little simpler in turn.
Such as? What do you mean?
So let's say the creator of this universe isn't affected by gravity.
Creator affected. You see, okay, let's really simplify this issue. You're having difficulty in accepting that the first creator, the only creator that makes sense to be in existence, can have certain attributes like knowledge. Okay, and the reason being, you think knowledge evolves.
Yes.
Yep. So if the creator exists without being brought into existence, why do you not have a problem of that creator having energy to begin with? Where did the energy come from? That creator that exists with power and energy. Where did the energy come from?
This is something that's really quite hard for me to reason about, but then I just have to say there's only one thing that came into existence. I don't have to say, and I can talk about how it led from there. I don't have to say then that not only did energy come into existence, but also kindness and the capability of this intellect.
When you say energy came into existence, the energy of the creator wasn't given by anyone. This energy, the power the creator has, no one gave the creator the power.
Sure, I agree with that. An ultimate.
So where is this? What is the source of this power? Within the creator. It's inherent.
Has to be itself.
Inherent, right? Yeah. So likewise, we say this creator has described himself that this creator is all powerful, all hearing, all knowing, all seeing, and also all forgiving, all compassionate, all just. So these are things that the Creator described himself to us so that we don't fall into this confusion about maybe the Creator doesn't have knowledge, and then he created other intermediary creators which has knowledge. Okay? So the confusion is removed.
At some point,
the Creator has affirmed these attributes for himself. So us being finite creation, we accept what the Creator has affirmed for himself.
And then we have to trust that the Creator is also truthful.
If the Creator has created us and told us that He's created us for a purpose, we have to accept that.
Okay. Maybe
there's
to completely change the discussion a bit here. What actually is the purpose talked about in the Quran?
The purpose of our creation, the Quran says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Because I have not created man and jinn except to worship me. That is the simple reason. So this worship is gratitude of the Creator and submitting and surrendering will in line with what the Creator wants to this Creator. So if the Creator says, okay, I want you to live your life in a certain way, and you submit to this will, then you are worshipping the Creator. The Creator tells us we are not created here to last forever in this life, but this life is a momentary phase of our existence. We will die and then we'll be resurrected back again. And then, depending on what we believed and what we did, whether we actually fulfill the purpose of our creation, whether we worship God or not, then there are consequences that awaits for us, a place of reward, joy and happiness, tranquility and bliss in paradise in Jannah, or a place of suffering, torment, pain, which is hellfire, and that's what will be two of the final destinations for us. And these abode will be forever. Okay, there will be no death after this life. Once we are resurrected again, death itself will come into total annihilation, as if like death itself will be killed and done with. So we'll have no death. So the Creator has created us so that we worship Not that he needs our worship, but we need to worship him.
So, I think if I'm honest, maybe part of the reason why I'm skeptical about Islam isn't necessarily the metaphysical things I've been talking through, but it's in that idea of submission that I find a little disconcerting because, I mean, I imagine if I were to have a child, for instance, I would want to see them outgrow me and go on to kind of have their own existence, but the idea of having a child submit to me and never to be able to grow up feels very uneasy to me. Does that make sense?
Okay, let's explore this issue a bit. First of all, we're not children of God. We don't believe we are children of God, like many people believe. We are creation of God, and God is our creator. So the relationship is between the creator and the created.
I maybe understand that, but I mean to be limited by what God has set out for us.
Okay,
and not
let's
be able
let's
to
understand something.
exceed those boundaries.
If I make something and I set a purpose, this is my prerogative, right? Now, if I've laid down the reasons what I've made something and they do not follow, then they're not actually following the reasons why they're there. Okay? They do that on their own consequences, which they will face for that. So if we are created so that we can go to a place which the Creator wants us to, He wishes us that we follow the way that leads to eternal happiness. Okay? Eternal happiness, joy, tranquility, bliss. And He could have put us straight into that place of eternal happiness. He could have. But the Creator has given us and created us with some free will, limited amount of free will. Okay? Free will entails that we choose the path and see whether we deserve to go to that place or not. Okay? If you, with your free will, wish to choose another path which takes you to a place away from this eternal paradise, the Creator is not going to force you because He's given you that freedom to choose. That's what makes you different from other creation. Okay? So He could have placed us straight into paradise. You and I would not complain, right? If we were there in paradise, because we would have been happy and bliss. Would you complain if you were in eternal joy?
I don't think I would have felt like I had earned it.
But you would not complain, why am I here in this joy and this, tranquility and bliss? Would you?
I might be a little bit different. I actually would. I would want to. I would never feel comfortable if all this had just been given to me. I would want to be able to create and to improve on my surroundings, and I would feel limited if I was in eternal bliss.
In heaven, there's nothing to improve for yourself. All there is for your own enjoyment.
That sounds awful. I would hate that.
Why would you hate it?
Because there wouldn't be anything for me to do, and I would have.
No, there will be lots of things to do, but you don't have to, have all this toil and suffering to achieve your happiness. Ultimately, what in this life? Okay, let's understand that. In this life, do we want happiness or do we not want happiness?
We want to pursue happiness.
Right.
We don't necessarily want happiness itself.
So you don't want to be happy?
I do, but
right.
But that isn't the ultimate aim. The aim is to try to. The aim. It's like that weird saying, like it's about the journey, not the destination, type thing.
So, if you just have the journey without the end, without happiness, you'd prefer that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you have, for example, you just work and at the end of the day you have no reward, you're quite happy. So you work for a company, you do all your work, and then there's no reward, no salary at the end of the day.
What I would like is to have a reward at the end of the day. Then I would like a next day as well where I can continue to...
Why do we expect a reward, like a salary at the end of the day? Why don't we just work? It's just a journey, isn't it? Just do the work without expecting any reward at the end of the day. Why? When you eat, what if what you just eat and doesn't give you any nourishment? You just eat.
You don't like the idea of just kind of going through life and then at the end of it not have a reward for it. You would expect at the end to have know the results of what the life was, and not just for it to be something that
I
is
mean,
unanswered.
I find I mean, from your perspective, I find it difficult to relate to because everyone wants to be happy, wants to have this tranquility